Prince William allegedly discovered a hidden connection between Camilla's daughter, Lopes, and pieces linked to Princess Diana's legacy, palace whispers exploded into something far bigger than anyone expected. What started as a quiet mystery behind closed doors suddenly looked like a royal power struggle that threatened to expose secrets buried for decades. And according to the rumors swirling through royal circles, William wasn't willing to stay silent this time. For years, the public has focused on the visible drama inside the monarchy, the speeches, the ceremonies, the carefully controlled photographs. But some royal watchers believe the real story has been unfolding in the shadows, hidden behind legal paperwork, private meetings, and silent tensions that never make official headlines. Then suddenly, everything changed. The first clue reportedly appeared when William made a move that stunned many people connected to the royal establishment. Sources claim that major financial decisions involving duchy assets were being reshaped, and insiders immediately began asking a dangerous question. Was this simply about business? Or was William preparing for something much bigger? At first, nobody connected those financial changes to Lopes. Why would they? Publicly, she remained far away from the daily drama surrounding the royal family. She wasn't the person dominating front pages. She wasn't giving explosive interviews. She wasn't making public accusations. She appeared completely outside the battlefield. But then, whispers began spreading through palace corridors. Certain items reportedly surfaced under circumstances that instantly raised eyebrows among people familiar with royal history. Not because of their monetary value, not because they were particularly rare, but because of what they supposedly represented: history, memory, legacy, and perhaps most importantly, Princess Diana. That was the detail that allegedly transformed an ordinary situation into a royal emergency. According to the growing speculation, images of specific jewelry pieces suddenly attracted attention from people who recognized them immediately. These weren't just accessories. If the rumors were true, these pieces carried emotional weight tied directly to Diana's story. The kind of objects capable of reopening wounds that never fully healed. And that's where everything becomes incredibly complicated, because Diana's legacy has always existed as something bigger than the monarchy itself. Decades after her death, her memory remains powerful, emotional, untouchable in the eyes of millions. So imagine what happens if questions begin emerging about items connected to that legacy. Imagine what happens if those items appear in unexpected places. Imagine what happens if William becomes involved. Suddenly, this wasn't simply about ownership. It became about protection. It became about loyalty. And according to the most dramatic palace theories, it became personal. Observers claim William reacted with unusual speed. Instead of allowing events to unfold naturally, he allegedly began working behind the scenes, consulting advisors and examining every possible detail. Whether those claims are true or not, one thing became clear. The future king reportedly viewed the situation as far more significant than outsiders initially understood. Then came the whispers of meetings, private discussions, closed doors, conversations nobody was supposed to hear about. The kind of conversations that instantly fuel conspiracy theories because silence itself becomes suspicious. Why was everyone suddenly so quiet? Why were certain figures refusing to comment? Why were insiders allegedly speaking in careful language whenever the subject emerged? Those questions only intensified public curiosity. And as curiosity grew, so did speculation. Some commentators began suggesting that William wasn't simply investigating a family matter. They claimed he was drawing a line, a boundary, a message to anyone who might attempt to control, alter, or redefine Diana's legacy. Whether fair or unfair, Camilla's name inevitably became part of the conversation. For years, public opinion regarding Camilla has remained complicated. While her position inside the monarchy became stronger over time, old tensions never completely disappeared in the minds of many royal followers. Because of that history, any controversy touching both Diana and Camilla instantly attracts enormous attention. And suddenly, Lopes found herself standing directly in the middle of that storm. The allegations, rumors, and theories multiplied almost daily. Some believed there was a calculated effort taking place behind the scenes. Others insisted everything was being exaggerated. But regardless of what was true, one reality became impossible to ignore. William appeared determined, very determined. And that's where the story took another dramatic turn. According to palace palace gossip, discussions eventually escalated beyond ordinary family disagreements. What allegedly emerged was a broader question about who truly controls royal history, royal assets, and the narrative surrounding some of the monarchy's most important figures. In other words, this was no longer about a few disputed items. This was about power. The kind of power that doesn't appear during public ceremonies. The kind of power hidden inside legal documents, private authority, and institutional influence. And if the rumors are even partially accurate, William had already decided he would not allow Diana's memory to become something negotiated behind closed doors. The deeper observers looked, the stranger everything seemed. Every answer created new questions. Every explanation created new suspicions. And every attempt to calm the situation only convinced some people that something bigger was being hidden. By that point, palace insiders allegedly realized this wasn't a temporary controversy. The situation had evolved into a symbol of a much larger struggle taking place within royal circles. A struggle involving legacy, influence, control, and perhaps unresolved wounds from the past that never truly disappeared. Because beneath all the headlines, all the speculation, and all the whispers, one question continued haunting everyone watching from the outside. What exactly did William discover that made him step in so aggressively? But if palace insiders thought the controversy would quietly disappear after William's reported intervention, they may have seriously underestimated what had already been set in motion. Because the deeper people allegedly looked into the situation, the more it appeared that the real battle was never about jewelry, documents, or even individual family members. It was about who would ultimately control one of the most powerful symbols inside modern royal history, Princess Diana's legacy. And that is where the tension reportedly reached a completely different level. Behind the scenes, whispers suggested that multiple royal households were suddenly operating in damage control mode, not because official statements were being issued, but because silence itself had become the story. Whenever questions surfaced, answers seemed unusually careful. Whenever rumors spread, nobody appeared eager to publicly shut them down. For royal watchers, that alone became suspicious. After all, when the palace wants a narrative corrected, it usually knows exactly how to do it. Yet in this situation, uncertainty continued growing. The result was a flood of theories. Some claimed William had uncovered information that forced him to act immediately. Others believed he was simply protecting what he viewed as an essential part of his mother's memory. But regardless of which version people believed, one perception was becoming increasingly widespread. William was no longer behaving like a future king waiting patiently for his turn. According to the gossip circulating through royal circles, he was already exercising the authority of someone preparing to shape the monarchy on his own terms. That perception alone sent shockwaves through observers, because for years, the public image of royal power has centered around King Charles. Yet many insiders have quietly suggested that the balance inside the institution has been changing, slowly, gradually, almost invisibly. And this alleged controversy seemed to become the perfect example of that shift. The fascinating part is that the situation reportedly left Camilla in an impossible position. Any attempt to defend her daughter risked drawing more attention to the controversy. Remaining silent, however, allowed speculation to grow unchecked. It was a political trap with no obvious escape route. Every option appeared dangerous, and while those tensions allegedly unfolded, William's position only seemed to strengthen. The narrative emerging from supporters was simple. They viewed him as someone protecting history, protecting Diana's memory, protecting the future inheritance of his children. Whether those claims were accurate or not almost became irrelevant, because perception itself carries enormous power. Once enough people start believing a certain version of events, that version begins shaping reality. Meanwhile, the mystery surrounding the larger story refused to disappear, because according to persistent rumors, unanswered questions remained everywhere. If this situation was truly isolated, why did it allegedly trigger such a dramatic response? Why did discussions reportedly move beyond ordinary family disagreements? Why did so many observers begin describing it as a turning point inside the monarchy? Those questions lingered, and the longer they remained unanswered, the larger they became. Soon, royal commentators weren't simply talking about Laura Lopes anymore. They were talking about succession, influence, future authority, the next era of the monarchy. In many ways, Laura had become a symbol of something much bigger than herself. The controversy surrounding her name allegedly exposed tensions that had had existed beneath the surface for years. Then came perhaps the most intriguing possibility of all. What if this story wasn't actually over? What if everything that had happened so far was merely the beginning? Because according to some of the most dramatic palace theories, unresolved questions still remain hidden behind closed doors. Questions about family loyalties, questions about influence networks, questions about decisions that may have been made years ago and only now are beginning to attract attention. Whether those theories are true is another matter entirely. But one thing is certain: the moment William allegedly stepped in, the story changed forever. What started as whispers became a royal controversy. What looked like a family dispute transformed into a debate about power. And what appeared to involve a single individual suddenly expanded into questions about the future direction of the monarchy itself. For now, the public only sees fragments, small pieces, rumors, leaks, speculation. But history has shown that royal stories rarely end where people think they do. They evolve, they grow, they reveal new layers long after everyone assumes the drama has finished. And somewhere behind palace walls, beyond official statements and carefully managed appearances, there may still be conversations taking place that the public hasn't heard yet. Because if there is one lesson royal history teaches over and over again, it is that secrets have a habit of resurfacing when nobody expects them. And if the whispers surrounding William, Camilla, Laura Lopes, and Diana's legacy contain even a fraction of the truth people believe they do, then this controversy may not be reaching its conclusion at all. It may only be entering its next chapter.